Hare Krishna, welcome to this episode of Bhagavad Gita. Today we'll be studying chapter 11, text 54. Seeing Krishna is the topic. So we'll quickly say our Mangalacharan prayers and we will begin. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Bhagavad Gita 11:54. Bhaktya tvananyaya shakya ahameva vidhorjuna jnatum drashtum cha tattvena praveshtum cha parantapa. Bhaktya, by devotional service. Two, but. Ananyaya, without being mixed with fruitive activities or speculative knowledge. Shakya, possible. Aham, I. Evam vidhaha, like this. Arjuna, O Arjuna. Jnatum, to know. Drashtum, to see. Cha, and. Tattvena, in fact. Praveshtum, to enter into. Cha, also. Param tapa, O subduer of the enemy. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. So, this purport is quite long, and so we will go through the purport and explain it as we go. Very important words in the verse itself. Bhaktya tu ananyaya shakya. So it is a fact that only by bhakti we can see Krishna, we can understand Krishna, we can know Krishna. But all these words are very weighty, more weighty than I used to think they were after I have started reading the Bhakti Siddhanta Vaibhava, which is this book, which is always on my table here. I've been reading this book, and a lot of these concepts, a lot of these realizations have been deepening quite a bit as I'm going through this book, and a lot of it, I'm I think one third of the way through the first book only, and there are 3 books in total. A lot of things that are said, of course, these were said by Prabhupada. It's just that they're more, how to say, he articulated, verbalized in depth each of those understandings which helps in the realization of those points. Of course, not exactly realization. it is actually realizing that I do not realize anything. That's the realization I've gotten, that whatever I've understood, um well, I did not understand much at all. Of course, that is a fact. We always knew that our understanding, our realizations are tiny compared to the vast ocean of the truth. Just like a bird who can only fly maybe until 10-15 miles up in the sky, but the sky is just unlimited and 15 miles is nothing. But from the vantage point of the earth, it looks very high. So similarly, previously I accepted axiomatically that I don't know much, but we do not know what we do not know. We do not know what we do not know. So now that I get a little bit of idea of what I do not know, the amount of the things that we do know become tiny in comparison, and we begin to realize, we begin to get a glimpse of what infinite looks like when what we know comfortably, such conceptions are shattered, and it makes you question even the absolute basics of everything that we really know. Do I really know this, actually? So it has been a very humbling experience reading the book in short. So, bhaktya tu ananyaya shakya. Bhaktya tu ananyaya. Shakya means possible. Okay, let's actually go word to word. Did we go just now? I don't think so. Did we? Yeah, we did. Okay, so Jnatum, Drashtum, Praveshtum, Evam Vidha. So, three things: enter into the understanding, enter into the mysteries of the understanding of Krishna, to see Krishna, to know Krishna. Even those concepts, even those words, which were taken for granted before, are not to be taken for granted. Drashtum is a big word, actually. Here it is mentioned to see, but there's a chapter, seer and the seen, Drigdrishya Vichar. I have showed that. I've read from that a couple of classes I think last week. And who is the seer? Who is the seen? What is the object to be seen? Is Lord the object to be seen, or is he the seer? So, so all these things, in fact, jnatum, to know the Lord. Are we the knower of the Lord, or the Lord is the knower of us? And if he reveals, what is the meaning of revelation? Can we actually see? What does it mean to see? What does it mean to know? What does it mean to enter into the mysteries of his understanding? It is all very, very deep and a big topic, but shakyaha, it is possible. Possible, and that is also not a small word. When we say possible, it is, oh, I can do it. No. We cannot do it. We cannot do it. It's impossible for us. What is possible is when the Lord allows himself to be seen, himself to be revealed. Prakashante, that's why the word prakasha is used. Yasya deva parabhaktir yatha deva tatha gurav tasyete kathitha hi artha prakashante mahatmanah. Because Brahma also did not see the Lord when he was born on the lotus flower. He did not see the origin of the lotus flower. He could see below, but then he did not know where the stem was stemming from. So it is only when the Lord wanted to show himself, that's when he could see. So what is our seeing actually? Do we really see? Do we see? So all that is to be understood. But Shakya, it is possible. But what makes it possible, the real mystery in this is bhaktya tu ananyaya. Bhaktya means through bhakti, by devotional service. Bhakti means devotion. Bhaktya means by devotion, through the agency of devotional service. Ananyaya, ananyaya. So what is ananyaya bhakti? Ananya bhakti. What is ananya bhakti? Anya bhakti means devotion to anything else or anyone else or anywhere else. What is actually devotion? I mean, when I devote myself, my mind, my body, and my words are fully engaged to serve the object of my devotion. And that devotion, I can be devoted to my family. I can be devoted to my boss in the workplace. I can be devoted to a demigod. I can be devoted to so many things. I can be devoted to my dog. I devote my time. What is devotion? What does it mean to devote? That means it's actually kind of, actually let's take the dictionary definition of devote. Let's see. Give all or most of one's time or resources to a person or activity. I wanted to devote more time to my family. That's an example sentence. This is in Google. I'm just reading off Google. Okay, so to give all or most of one's time or resources. If we take that, what does it mean? So we are, with every second of our life, with every second of our day, we are voting for something. We are voting. I don't know if there is a link between the word vote and devote, classified and declassified, but that's the opposite. But vote and devote, I don't think they're opposites at all. But I've it's my feeling, it's my understanding that I vote with my time what is important in my life, where I choose to spend my time, spend my energy, spend my resources, spend my thoughts, my words, my actions. So anya bhakti or apakva bhakti, immature bhakti, is when there are gaps in our, even if when we start to realize Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as we advance in our Krishna consciousness, there is a lot of gap between being Krishna conscious and Maya conscious, Krishna conscious, Maya conscious. There's there's a nice anecdote here. Prabhupada, one of the disciples, he said he had some realization after some time. You know what realization he had? He said, Prabhupada, we are trying to be Krishna conscious, but sometimes we are in Maya. Prabhupada said, no, most of the time you are in Maya, sometimes you are Krishna conscious. Puts it in perspective, because the gap, we think even as a so-called full-time devotee, what is actually full-time devotee? It's a big word. Are we really full-time? Am I full-time? Full-time means kalam nayed akhilam ityupadesha saram avyartha kalatvam. This is full-time. It means 24 hours a day, nothing but Krishna. That is full-time. The real standard of full-time. Of course, there is commentary by, I think, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, if I'm not wrong. He commented on Kalam Nayed Akhilam Ityupadesha Saram in the Nectar of Instruction, verse 8, which is, that line means the essence of all instruction is to use all our time in Krishna's service. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that, in order to encourage the beginner, if we speak about the highest standards of devotion directly, A lot of people may be discouraged. Oh wow, that's so far out of reach. So in order to, of course, we have to realize one thing. It is out of reach. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in order to encourage neophytes even, so this Akhila or Anudinam actually, Anudinam, what is that? Actually, let's go to that verse because it's very important. तन्नामरूपचरितादिषु कीर्तनानुस्मृत्योः क्रमेण रसना मनसि नियोज्य तिष्ठन् व्रजेतदनुरागी जनानुगामी कालं नयेदखिलमित्युपदेशसारम्. Okay. Anuragi. Oh, actually, the verse before this, Anudinam, is there. So let's go there. Anudinam is very important. I don't know if it is mentioned in the purport of this particular verse, but let's see. Syat Krishna nama charitadisitapya vidya pittopatapta rasanasya narochikanu kintvadaradhanudinam khalu saiva jushta swadvikramad bhavati tadgadamolahantri. Anudinam. You know what's Anudinam? Every day. All day. Anudinam means all day and every day. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments on this. So this verse says, everything about Krishna, the holy name, character, pastimes, and activities of Krishna are transcendently sweet, like sugar candy. But the tongue, we are now afflicted with the disease of jaundice. When we have a jaundice, we cannot taste sugar as sweet. We taste it as bitter because we are in a diseased condition. Our perception is not optimal. So we taste it in a different way. So jaundice of avidya, when we are in ignorance, everything about Krishna, although transcendently sweet, we don't experience it as sweet. And that's not the problem with the Krishna's holy name or pastimes or anything, but it's our own disease condition. But the only way to come out of that is to carefully chant these sweet names and pastimes and everything every day. Then a natural relish awakens within his tongue and his disease is gradually destroyed at the root. So daily is a word that was offered as a translation by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in order to encourage neophytes. And the next verse actually just goes on how to do that every day, Anudinam. Kalam nayed akhilam ityupadeshasaram. One should utilize one's full time. Akhilam kalam. You see? Kalam nayed should utilize akhilam full. Thus, this is the essence of all advice. So, kalam akhilam nayed. Our full time should be used in Krishna service. So when we say full time, it's not just saffron color cloth, residence at the temple address. Sorry. So it's not just the color of the cloth or the address of one's residence in the temple premises. That's not the classification of full time. That's not the definition of full time at all. One should utilize one's full time, every second of every day, in Krishna service, even in sleep. This is a very high standard. This is a pure devotee standard. But we should get closer and closer and closer to that. And bhaktya to ananyaya shakya. Only by such ananya bhakti, where there is no gap, and not just no gap, but full of concentrated devotional service. And that's what is explained here by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He said all the different stages of Krishna consciousness. Yeah. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has commented as follows upon this verse. One who has not yet developed interest in Krishna consciousness should give up all material motives and train his mind by following the progressive regulative principles, namely chanting and remembering Krishna in his name, form, qualities, pastimes, and so forth. In this way, after developing a taste for such things, one should try to live in Vrindavan and pass his time constantly remembering Krishna's name, fame, pastimes, and qualities under the direction and protection of an expert devotee. This is the sum and substance of all instruction regarding the cultivation of devotional service. Now, what I realize is each of these sentences can be subjects of a particular, of a separate lecture. Each of these sentences, like living in Vrindavan, it can be expanded upon like for hours, maybe even days and months and years, what it means to actually live in Vrindavan. But anyway, let's read on. So he further says, in the neophyte stage, one should always engage in hearing Krishna Katha. That does not mean in the advanced stage we don't need to engage in hearing Krishna Katha. At that time, there is no need of instruction prodding us to hear Krishna Katha. Namagane sada ruchi, Vasudeve Katha ruchi. So we will have the taste that we cannot give it up. We don't want to give it up. We are so excited to chant Krishna's name. We are so excited to hear Krishna's name, Krishna's pastimes, even though we have read it and heard it many, many times. That stage, instructions, there's no need of instructing an advanced soul because he already follows those instructions and goes beyond the limits of those such instructions. For example, we have a limit, not a limit, like a minimum of 16 rounds a day. We are ordered by our spiritual master. Most of us keep to that, try to keep to that. Quality, still not there, far away still. Durdaivam idrisham ihajani nanuraga. Nanuraga means I don't have any attachment, I'm just chanting with the hope that I will become better. And hope means I have to be serious about it. There has to be endeavor to chant properly. So anyway, there is a limit. There are numericals attached to such things, but that's the quantity. The quality, when the quality increases, like once there was a question to Prabhupada. Disciple asked, how do we know our quality of rounds is increasing? Because everybody is chanting 16 rounds, quantitatively it's the same, but how do we know our quality is increasing? Prabhupada said, where is the question of quality right now? Because if there was really quality, you wouldn't stop at 16. Why not 16,000 rounds? You will think. So that is quality. Quality means I cannot stop. I'm in total ecstasy. I cannot separate myself from the name of Krishna. That is quality. That feeling. It's not about, it cannot be faked. It cannot be faked. It's the real sentiment of a devotee that he cannot stop chanting, and he finds one mouth to be too little to chant Krishna's name. I just want to chant so much that one mouth is just not enough. I just want to chant Krishna so much that I want millions of mouths, like Rupa Goswami prayed. I want millions of ears so that I can hear Krishna's name. I think 2 ears are not enough. 2 eyes are not enough to see Krishna. So these things, these kind of feelings, and in fact, even though on those 2 eyes there are eyelids, and the gopis, they're chastising Brahma. What kind of creator? He has no intelligence. He has created only 2 eyes, and with those 2 eyes also on top he put some eyelids which block our vision of Krishna for a moment. That's not good. He's not artistic. He's not knowledgeable on what is art. He does not know. Obviously, he does not know. That's what they are saying, out of their ecstasy, of course. Because if he knew what it means to see Krishna, he would not offer obstacles. So in this way, they were. That is greedy. That's greed for Krishna. That's the taste. That's advancement. So, A devotee should always be humble, thinking that I actually cannot see Krishna. I cannot chant properly. Durdaivam idrisham ihajani nanuraga. I should always think, Hey Nandasuno Kutaha, where are you, Krishna? Hey Radhe Vrajadevi Ke Chalalite. Hey Nandasuno Kutaha, where are you? I can't see you. Durdaivam idrisham ihajani nanuraga. I am unable to chant your name properly. Sarva Shakti, he is having Sarva Shakti, but it's such an attractive feature, Krishna's name, but I have no attraction. Durdaivam. So I am unable to understand, I am unable to hear the holy name, and I'm unable to chant the holy name, I'm unable to see you, Krishna. That mood will always make us more and more Krishna conscious. The more and more we realize that we are nobody. And that does not mean, oh, I'm nobody, I cannot do anything, I'm unable to say, I will go into depression. So spiritual greed and spiritual humility is nothing like so-called material humility, where it's like a hopeless situation, which is a spiritually hopeless situation, is actually a great impetus. A great impetus. If you are motivated, I can do it and everything. Yes, we have to have enthusiasm. Enthusiasm, it has to be the right enthusiasm. Enthusiasm that Krishna is there, and I want to do this for Krishna. That's it. Not that I'm a great person. I'm going to do superb. No. We have to do the best for Krishna. We have to dream big. We have to work big. Everything. But always thinking that no, it's not because of me. It's because of Krishna. It's because of the mercy of the acharyas. Like Prabhupada, he did more than any other acharya in the matter of preaching Krishna consciousness. Unprecedented. I mean, the only person he can be compared to is Narad Muni. Narad Muni, like the expanse. Narad Muni went all over the universe, and he made so many devotees. Of course, we do not know what acharyas have done in different births. Krishna might have sent them many times over into this material world, and they may have purified. Each of the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are capable of delivering many universes worth of living entities. But in manifested recorded history, if we talk about from historical point of view, the only record we have is Narada Muni. Of course, there are other. Brahma also might have spoken, Shiva might have spoken, everybody has spoken, but acharyas, like at least on earth, let's say, who has done to the extent that he has done? This is unparalleled. We take it for granted now because we have it. But this wasn't the case. This wasn't the case for the longest time. And so therefore, this is a very unique time in history that we are actually living in. And so that Prabhupada, who has done so much, always was humble. And it's only because of the mercy of my spiritual master, my Guru Maharaj, that this is all happening, he said. Because I just tried, my only sincere endeavor, the only credit that you can give me is that I did not try to change anything from my spiritual master's instructions. So that got him this far, farther than his own spiritual master. And again, that is only by the mercy of a spiritual master. So we also have to think like that we are totally incapable, but we have to be very honest with our service to Prabhupada, and then only Prabhupada's blessings will be there, by which we can take it even further. So anyway, coming back to this point, in the neophyte stage, one should always engage in hearing Krishna Katha. This is called Shravana Dasha, the stage of hearing. By constantly hearing the transcendental holy name of Krishna and hearing of his transcendental form, qualities and pastimes, one can attain to the stage of acceptance called Varana Dasha. So hearing, but Sam Shraddha, Ado Shraddha, Tato Sadhu Sangha, Atha Bhajana Kriya. Bhajana Kriya is when this Varana Dasha happens. When we accept, okay, now I accept everything, I will do what you say, I accept everything that you say as truth, and I will do what you ask me to do. And that's what initiation is. When I formalize my vow that I'm going to follow the instructions of my guru. So that is Varanadasha, acceptance. Because in the beginning there's a lot of skepticism, and it's only normal because we are ignorant at this point. So everything we will approach with skepticism, and that's how it should be also in the beginning. One should not accept anything and everything. One should examine what is actually. We should apply our logic, and that logic has to be guided by again the spiritual master, the guru, and apply that logic and experiment with it. Yeah, okay, this makes sense, that makes sense, yes, okay, this I don't understand why. Then inquire, okay, when they receive the explanation, okay, now it makes sense. Then engage in service, take to the full recipe of it, not just inquiring and examining and then okay, let me figure out. No, we can't figure out like that. We have to be guided in our figuring out by Chaitya Guru and the Diksha Guru and Shiksha Gurus. So it will be guided and take the guidance and then apply our logic accordingly, not unhinged logic. It has to be guided by the Shastra and the Guru Sadhu Shastra. Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita. So these are the. So Varanadasha, acceptance. When one attains this stage, you see why am I showing you this? Because we're talking about bhaktya to ananyaya, ananya bhakti. So in the beginning, yeah, we are reading, which is Krishna conscious, but then we are having doubts. In our mind, there is gap. In our physical activity, there is gap. Our words, there is gap. In our hearing, thinking, everything, there is gap. In thinking of Krishna, or talking for Krishna, or doing for Krishna, or not. So there is a intervals. It's done at intervals and with not much of conviction, and slowly our conviction is growing like that. So Varanadasha, acceptance. Okay. Some level of conviction has set in to a point where it's no return. Like I may not have full faith in everything yet, but I can't go back to a point where I don't think I can do it anymore. I don't think I believe Krishna is God anymore. That can happen by offenses, but then whatever we have done will not be lost, and then we will come back to that when our offenses have been sufficiently treated by Krishna or Maya. We'll come back to that. But in our natural course of advancement, if we are careful enough, we cannot go back. Even if we go back, we cannot really forget that point, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. We cannot really forget that. Okay? So that is the Varanadasha. Once we come to that point where, okay, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. Until then we were doubting, I don't know, I'm not sure. But then after that, it's not complete faith yet, but it is a faith, it is a point, a tipping point in faith where we can't go back again. It's established Krishna is Supreme. After that is more finer aspects of everything. So when one attains this stage, he becomes attached to the hearing of Krishna Katha. He becomes attached to the hearing of Krishna Katha. See, it feeds into the feedback loop. It's a virtuous feedback loop. So when we accept Varanadasha, okay, then I want to hear Krishna Katha more. Not that, oh, I have heard Krishna Katha, now I accept, okay, because I accept, no need of Krishna Katha anymore. No. Attached, now it's attached, becomes attached to hearing Krishna Katha. When one is able to chant in ecstasy, he attains the stage of Smaranavastha, the stage of remembering. This is already very high. And this Smaranavastha is, divided into 5 parts, you see. When the stage of remembering, recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance are the 5 items of progressive Krishna Smarana. So Krishna Smarana also, Smarana Avastha. We are in the Smarana Dasha or Avastha or the stage, but in the Smarana there are sub-stages. How much our Smarana is. So there is also, it's not Ananya yet. Okay? It's kind of Ananya, but not thick, it's still thin. Like, I compare it to a milk, boiling down of milk, cooking down of milk. So in the beginning, it's very liquid, and then you boil it, and over time, it'll become thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker, and that's how you get rabdi. The sweet rabdi is very, very thick at that time. So that thickness is what I'm talking about. When it says thin or thick, it's like the milk cooking down. So recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance are the 5 items of progressive Kṛṣṇa Smarana. At first, remembrance of Krishna may be interrupted at intervals, and these intervals can be very, very long, depending on the stage of advancement we are. And it's not directly proportional to the number of years we put into our Krishna conscious practice, but actually the number of the amount of investment of our thought, words, and deeds in Krishna's service, and avoidance of offenses, all that. There's a lot of things that we need to do right for us to progress, because even one thing wrong, then it will affect the rate of our progress, or it can even go into digression, like backward, retrograde. So that can also happen. So it depends on many factors how fast we progress. And it's not just about how fast and how stable. It's more about how stably we are progressing. It can be fast, but can't be unstable. And fast progress or slow progress, this is not indicated by the external service outputs that we may do. Service output is important. Like, for example, the number of books distributed, or okay, this service has to be done at this time, or whatever. Those output, if we are doing it regularly, that is actually a good thing. It's not entirely bad, because the very commitment to do those things for Krishna's satisfaction is devotion. Devotion means, for Krishna, I have to do this. There is no why it should be an optional thing. Why should it be optional? I have to do it for Krishna. The employee in a company, he has to do it for the boss. We have to be million times more serious than the employee for Krishna, because if we really love Krishna, then we have to do it for Krishna. So the very commitment that, okay, I'm doing everything for Krishna, selling these many books and everything, that actually is a sign of advancement. But while we do all those things, internally we have to work. We have to be introspective as well, not just what devotees see me as doing. The external, okay, he's giving a lot of classes, or he sings kirtan very nicely, or he's distributing so many books, he's always cooking, and he's doing puja all the time, or what is visible to the outside world, that's one thing. That's also important. I'm not saying no. At the same time, we should constantly evaluate. And today, actually, again, from this book, I read the chapter of Yukta Vairagya. And boy, that was so insightful. Because we think we know Yukta Vairagya. It is very, very subtle. It is very, very fine. We have to be always introspecting whether I am getting attached. And anasakyasya vishayan yatharham upayunjataha nirbandhe Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam uchyate. We have that verse, right? Let's go there. We haven't even started purport. Okay, actually, you know what? We will hold that a little bit. We will read this purport. We haven't started our 1154 purport, so I think I always go into rabbit holes of all these things. We will go there, but okay, let's finish this. Kṛṣṇa Smaran, 5 progressive stages of Kṛṣṇa Smaran. It becomes thick and thick and thick and thick. Not only lack of intervals, but also depth, also thickness, also richness of that remembrance. So at first, remembrance of Krishna may be interrupted at intervals, but later remembrance proceeds uninterrupted. When remembrance is uninterrupted, it becomes concentrated and is called meditation. When meditation expands and becomes constant, it is called anusmriti. By uninterrupted and unceasing anusmriti, one enters the stage of samadhi or spiritual trance. After smarana dasha or samadhi has fully developed, the soul comes to understand his original constitutional position. At that time, he can perfectly and clearly understand his eternal relationship with Krishna. That is called sampatti dasha, the perfection of life. So these are the different stages. These are different stages. So we have to go to 1154 purport, but I'll just touch upon this ananya bhakti. It's not just the external results. We can be known for things. We can be known for things that we do. Okay, how many devotees we have made. That is also, it is a service, and it requires our intelligence, our investment of intelligence, and our words, our deeds, and everything. It requires gallons of blood to make even one devotee. All that is true. But our advancement in Krishna consciousness is rented. It is not owned. It is rented. What does that mean? So, if I pay my rent, now, for example, I may be staying in one apartment. That's where I am. I don't own the apartment, say. It's on rent. As long as I pay the rent, I can stay there. Once I don't pay the rent, I cannot stay there. I'll be evicted. Similarly, our position in Krishna consciousness is rented. And the rent is due every day. If tomorrow I slack in my practices, then I'm evicted from that position of being Krishna conscious, because I'm now not Krishna conscious. I'm not conscious of Krishna. So Krishna consciousness, we can't rest on our laurels. We can't say, I have done this much service and therefore I should be considered an established devotee in Krishna consciousness. No, that's not how it works. I mean, of course, neha vikramanashosti pratyavayo navadyate swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Everything that we do in Krishna consciousness is accumulated and the result of it is never lost. Yet, what does that mean, we're never lost? Never lost means Krishna is kind enough. It's not us. We have lost. We have not paid the rent. We have gone, maybe we have been evicted from the platform or the position of Krishna consciousness because we have not paid the rent of doing what we're supposed to be doing, our sadhana and everything, following the order of the spiritual master and everything. But why is it said that, Tyaktva swadharma charanam bhujam harer bhajanna pakvotha pate tato yadi yatra kvava bhadram abhudamushyakim kovartha apto. Wait. Krishna. Kovartha apto bhajatam swadharmatah. See, one who has forsaken his material occupations to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage, yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything. You know why this is so? Why Swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat? Because it is Krishna's kindness that he keeps and saves our advancement. When you, back in the day, nowadays Google Docs and all that, things are automatically saved. Previously, Microsoft Word on our computer, I think even now Microsoft Word is like that, I think. I don't know. When you type a document, if you don't save the document, or if sometimes video editor, when you're editing the video, this is even now it is experience. When you don't save the changes, sometimes it's saved, sometimes not. When you don't save the changes and then you accidentally close it, and then you lost all those things, or something happens and you lost all those things. So Krishna is kind enough that he has a backup of all that we have done and he saves it for us. It's not that bhakti, whatever I have done, it will be saved, so I'll be. That is again disrespect to Krishna. He is offering us out of his kindness that whatever we do, it will never be lost. But then, with that logic, we all fell from the spiritual world. We have done so much service there. At some point, we decided, you know what, to hell with this service. And Krishna said, to hell with you. And we were sent to hell, this material world. Of course, he did not say it like that. He wanted us to. But we asked for the banishment. We asked Krishna, no, let me out of here. I want to become the Lord. Okay, we came to this material world. So all that service, why did it not save us? Swalpam apyasya dharma. We did so much service. What happened? Why did it not save us from falling down? Because that independence we have. So he's kind enough that, just like Bharat Maharaj, for example, he got distracted after becoming very, very serious in Krishna consciousness. He got distracted. Instead of Ananya Bhakti, he became interrupted. What happened? He did fall down. He did fall down from his position and he became a deer. That's a fall down. But Krishna was kind. It was not in his capacity to remember his past life. Krishna made that arrangement for him to remember his past life. So that is Krishna's intervention. Krishna interferes or intervenes to help such a devotee. So we should only be grateful to Krishna that he saves, quote unquote, save, like our modern software saves the document kind of save. He saves our spiritual advancement. Like a document history. Document history. Like in Google Docs, you can go back to document history, like what was done. Like, say we were working on a document for 1 week. Okay, what was it on day one? Like, how was the document? Okay, day two, what happened? Okay, this many changes. Even on day two, you can expand and like each minute what was changes made. Document history. So we can revert back to any of that historical points of the document and start over from that point. So he saves the document of he keeps a record of our devotional activities and he saves the document. He backs it up. It's an unfailing hard drive he has. So he backs it up for us. But our current position in Krishna consciousness is rented. And the rent is due every day, every moment. I can be Krishna conscious or I can be not Krishna conscious. Not because I have done something Krishna conscious, it's not like a certificate. Because I am a degree holder, I have the same qualification all my life. No. That is not an index of my current intellectual position. I can become a senile person, I can become a demented person, I can become, I can have anything, Parkinson's disease or whatever. Like once upon a time, Michael Schumacher was the fastest driver on earth, on Formula One race driver. Now he is paralyzed, he can't even move. Forget about driving a car, he can't even move, he's just paralyzed, he's just in coma. He's in coma for the last decade or so, more than a decade, 15 years or something, an accident and then that's it. See, so we need to, now if you say that, he was the fastest driver on earth, yeah, that was what he has done, but do those things affect his life now? No. His life is completely different from what it was back then. All those championships, all those certificates and trophies, and none of that will help in my current second now. It won't help. Similarly, in Krishna consciousness, whatever I have done in the past, okay, Krishna's kindness, he keeps that saved, whatever. But now, my independence, if I choose not to be Krishna conscious, if I slack in this thing, there's every chance. All that, okay, I have distributed, say, 100 Bhagavad Gitas in my life. Nothing much, that is nothing much actually, honestly. But it's something still. Let's say even one book is a great deal for Prabhupada. But honestly, okay, let's say, just for argument's sake, I have distributed 100 Prabhupada's books. That does not mean I will not fall down. That has nothing to do. Maybe it has something to do. Krishna will take, okay, this person has helped another person become a sincere devotee. So, you know what, I'll be kind to him. But I have seen also people who have helped others, who have distributed books, and then they have left. And they're in total Maya right now. Those people who they have brought into Krishna consciousness, they are serious. But this person has gone into Maya. So things can happen. So we cannot rest on these things. We cannot rest on our laurels. Our position in Krishna consciousness is rented, and the rent is due every day, every moment. So that is Ananya Bhakti. Ananya Bhakti means not to slacken at any time. In fact, if anything, we have to double down, triple down, quadruple down, pentaple down. What is that? I don't know what it is. Like, we have to increase our devotional service. We have to be more and more eager, greedy, do more and more and more. So that is bhaktya to ananya. So when we have that kind of bhakti, then jnatum, drashtum, praveshtum, all these things can happen. So anyway, let's go to purport. Let's go to the purport. Purport. Krishna can be understood only by the process of undivided devotional service. Unalloyed. Alloy means a mixture of metals. Mixture of metals, that's an alloy. Unalloyed means pure metal. So when our devotion is mixed with other things like karma, jnana, that is called karma mishra bhakti, jnana mishra bhakti, yoga mishra bhakti. But shuddha bhakti, that's what we need to crave for. And that also undivided. And pure devotional service is actually undivided. Apratihata, it's not interrupted, uninterrupted. Uninterrupted means not even a split second of interruption. That is the quality. That is the quality. So, undivided, there's no division, there's no gap. Undivided devotional service. So that sentence is so heavy. And that's why we have been explaining that only for so long in this class. What is undivided devotional service? Ananya Bhakti means what? Ananya Bhakti also means not just continuous, but of course it also includes, continuous includes this. 19.168. Anya vancha, anya puja, chhari jnana karma, anukulya sarvendriya Krishnānushīlana. A pure devotee must not cherish any desire other than to serve Krishna. He should not offer worship to the demigods. That is also Ananya Bhakti. Anya Bhakti. No other. What is that? Yajante Shraddhayanvitaha. Yepi anya devata bhakta. Yajante Shraddhayanvita tepi mameva kaunteya yajanti avidhi purvakam. So that avidhi cannot. Vidhi anusar. And Ananya Bhakti. No other bhakti. Bhakti for nothing else but Krishna. A pure devotee must not cherish any desire other than to serve Krishna. He should not offer worship to the demigods or to mundane personalities. He should not cultivate artificial knowledge which is devoid of Krishna consciousness, and he should not engage himself in anything other than Krishna conscious activities. See that? He should not cultivate artificial knowledge which is devoid of Krishna consciousness, and he should not engage himself in anything other than Krishna conscious activities. One must engage all one's purified senses in the service of the Lord. This is the favorable execution of Krishna conscious activities. So, introspection. What I was saying was Ananya Bhakti, a crucial factor of that is introspection. What is this rent that we need to pay? What is the rent? The rent is, we don't want to just actually stay in a stagnant position in Krishna consciousness. We want to increase, advance, right? Both in our service output and in our internal purification as well. The extrinsic and the intrinsic factors of our devotion, we have to develop both. And that rent means to be very, very, very sensitive. Sensitive means, it's sometimes taken as, oh, he's a sensitive person. You tell him a little bit, he'll get upset, that kind of sense. That's not what I'm talking about. To be very perceptive. That's what I mean by sensitive. Very perceptive of, that means able to detect even the slightest change or the slightest, and also, slightest, change in our feelings, our moods, and also becoming contemplative in the finer and finer and finer aspects of everything, examining everything, whether I'm really Krishna conscious. Because I always want to think, yeah, I am Krishna conscious. Like, why am I not Krishna conscious? That's how I may think. That means I'm not Krishna conscious. Because the more one becomes Krishna conscious, he'll think that no, if I'm really Krishna conscious, why this? Why do I not have taste for chanting? Why do I? Yeah, people may respect me. A lot of people may respect me. They may feel that their lives have changed listening to me, or seeing me, or whatever. But internally, what is happening? What is happening internally? Don't just believe what people say. If people think they get inspired by you, that's good. Okay, you have served them well, and you always wish them well and pray for their advancement. Yes, but I should be always conscious not to allow that to get to my head, and then I internally stop growing. So I should always focus on where whether I'm growing or not, whether I'm becoming. What is growing? Am I becoming humble? What is my humility? And it's very, very fine. We can get very, 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 very fine. And what I'm realizing, and this is the other thing. We will become more and more fine in our observation. We have to find faults with ourselves. It's a very hard thing to do because of our ego, but we have to do it. And when it will happen, how we can become introspective? Because our mind will always tell us, you know what, you're doing good. Everybody can see you that you are doing good. So actually you're doing good because everybody's saying that you're doing good. Now, we have to always read Vaishnava Charitra Sarvada Pavitra. We have to read the act of, why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu read Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruv Maharaj's life hundreds of times? Why? Because only then we will understand the standard of pure devotion. Like now, me reading this Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's life, and me reading Prabhupada's, I recently read, before this I read Prabhupada's history of book distribution in that department especially, and how he made that a basis for his movement. There's a book called Our Family Business by Vaisheshika Prabhu, one of these ISKCON gurus, but he's also an established book distributor. But because it is about Prabhupada and his movement and what he has done and everything and how he developed the whole movement, so I read it. It's very insightful. It's so many things I've learned. If we observe pure devotees' life, we will immediately, starkly, we will see the difference between our devotion and their devotion. That's when we will understand what the real standard is, and that's when we will understand where our standard is right now, where we are. We will understand, for sure, we will understand where our mistakes are, because now, as I said in the beginning, we do not know what we do not know. But then, when we start to realize what we do not know, then we become humble. Because when we do not know what we do not know, we think we know it all. There's nothing more to be known. What is there to be known anymore? Okay. Then when you compare yourself, because when you read the activities of pure devotees, then you start to realize, oh, there's so much more I do not know. This is the real standard. This is the real standard. Then our humility sets in. Then we become more, then we will know the rubric against which we have to examine ourselves, analyze ourselves, evaluate ourselves. What is the rubric of a devotee, of the standard of a devotee? That only is known when we study the lives of pure devotees. And that's what Bhagavatam is all about. If you really study Bhagavatam, it's all about devotees in the Lord. And, and the prayers that they, and in their prayers, they're not just words, that's how they think. That's why the songs of Vaishnava Acharyas are so important, especially Bhaktivinoda Thakur's, Narottam Das Thakur's songs. Very, very important. Even Prabhupada's songs, that Shower of Divine Compassion, I think you can see there, that book. Yeah, this one. This book, Prabhupada's face, you can see there. That book, Shower of Divine Compassion, is all the poems of Prabhupada and Prabhupada's books, and the Bhaktivinoda and Narottam Das Thakur's songs, the lives of these acharyas. Then we start to realize, hey, I'm nowhere. I'm absolutely nowhere. That's when we will become humble. That's when we will not think so highly of ourselves. Why is Krishna Katha purifying? Why is Vaishnava Katha purifying? Vaishnava Charitra Sarvada Pavitra. It is not only pure, his character, Vaishnava's character is not only pure, it is purifying. It's not just pure, but purifying. Whoever comes in contact with that Charitra, whoever tries to understand his Charitra, he will get purified. Just by reading about his activities. Just like the Lord's activities. Why Krishna's books are purifying? Why we ask people to read Bhagavad Gita, Krishna book, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita? Why? Because when we read, we get purified. What does that get purified means? I asked actually sometimes, recently I asked, I think a couple of devotees, I want to ask actually more. I want to quiz devotees. I want to ask them, like, what is the meaning of getting purified? What is purification? That word is always used. Oh, I need to get purified. Okay, what is actually purification? You need to get purified. Okay, fine. So if you are purified, what will be your state? Do you know what is a purified state? Because if I don't know what purification is. Purification is not some vague, something will happen magically somewhere, some whatever. Oh, my past sinful reactions may go away, something subtle. I don't know. No. There is a visceral even effect of purification. What is that? Bhakti pareshanubhava viraktir. When you eat, you're getting strength. Your hunger is getting diminished. You're getting satisfaction. You know it. You can perceive it. So when you get purified, when sinful reactions depart, our vision should become more clear. Our vision should become more clear. Our understanding should become more clear. Praveshtum, Jnatum, Drashtum, these things should happen progressively more and more. That is purification. Not like, I want some purification. Okay. Anything changed in your life? Nothing. So you're not become purified. What is the purification? Something should change in your life. Something, our outlook must change. I should become more serious in Krishna consciousness. I should understand something should become clearer for me. That's how we have to evaluate. I actually wanted to show about Yukta Vairagya, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's. So if I forget, please remind me at the end of the class, because when I say introspection, when I say, that rent that we need to pay, what is that rent? Yeah, I'm chanting every day 16 rounds, I'm following 4 principles, so I'm paying the rent, no? No. Then if you're paying the rent, then why there is stagnation? Why is there stagnation? Why is there lack of understanding? Drashtum, Jnatum, Praveshtum should happen, right? I should enter into the mysteries of understanding. The things should become clearer at least. I should know a little more. Not just about Krishna, about myself, about everything. Knowing about Krishna means not only about Krishna's, okay, I know today that Krishna wears shark-shaped earrings. Not just those trivia, but the more important things in our life. Of course, that is also important to meditate on Krishna, but before that, what about us, our purification? Like, where's our all this is thinking of Krishna, because this is based on Krishna's philosophy. What is correct, what is wrong, all the regulative principles, thinking about what should be done, what should not be done. All these things are also thinking about Krishna because they are Krishna's instructions to guide us. So when we are meditating on Krishna's instructions, the Acharya's instructions, and contemplating on it deeper and deeper, by reading, by serving, by associating, that is the rent that we need to pay. We need to invest mayarpitam mano buddhir. That is the core line to increase our sadhana, to increase the quality of our sadhana. Mayarpitam mano buddhir. The problem is we do things mindlessly without our mana and buddhi arpita in that process. Our mind and intelligence is not invested in the thing that we are supposed to be doing. When we are chanting, our mind is elsewhere, our intelligence is elsewhere. When we are reading, we are feeling sleepy. When we are sitting in the class, we are feeling sleepy. Or I'm not paying attention. Or I don't have time, I'm doing something else. How then will I advance? So we cannot enter into the understanding. We cannot understand even ourselves. So that is purification. Purification means I'm more and more rigid, not rigid, strongly getting established in Krishna consciousness. And I'm feeling more and more happy. Navanavara sadhamanyoddatam rantumasit navyavad hridaya yajno. What is that? Is it 430, 34? Is it this one? No, not this one. Navyavad. 430:20. Okay. Navyavad hridaya yajno brahmaitad brahmavadibhihi na muhyanti na shochanti na hrisyanti yato gataha. Always engaging in the activities of devotional service, devotees feel ever increasingly fresh and new in all their activities. This is the test. Everything should feel fresh and new. That does not mean that we have to seek novelty every day. And I know, yesterday, today was Guru Vashtaka Samsara Davana. Tomorrow we'll chant something else fresh and new. We will chant Mangalarti, something, maybe Gai Gaurachan Madhur Sware. That's not what we're talking about. Doing the same thing, but getting greater pleasure out of it. Of course, there can be different things as well. We have to scale our services and all that, but sadhana have to be maintained. Sadhana has to be maintained. The same things that we do every day. But we must have relish in that. If we think, why should we do the same thing? That means we have not understood anything. Because there is unlimited depth to everything. I don't have access only because I'm not purified. Durdaivam idrisham ihajani nanuragaha. I don't have anuraga right now because I'm durdaivam, unfortunate. Something is blocking me. And I think, who is that? Vasudev Ghosh? He sings, what is that song? Vasudeva Ghosh. No. Pashane. Vasur hiya pashan diya. Kemone gadiyache. Let me see if I can take it out. Vasur hiya pashan diya. Yadi gaurna hoito. Tabe ki hoito. Kemone dharitam de. So, in this song, Vasudev Ghosh, he is writing Gauranga Bolia Nagenu Galia Kemone Dharinu De Vasur hiya Pashan diya kemone gadiyache Gauranga bolia nagenu galia. So Vasuri here, the heart of Vasu. See, he's saying, even though I chant the holy name of Lord Gauranga, somehow, I don't know if it is there on the, let me see if I can write Vasuri here. Gauranga bolia nagenu galia, kemone dharinu de, Vasuri hiya pashan diya, kemone gadiya che. Even though I chant the holy name of Lord Gauranga, somehow I still have not melted in ecstasy. How then have I maintained the burden of this body? How has the Creator fashioned this body with a stone in place of Vasudeva Ghosh's heart? Now there's another one. Where Yamaraj is punishing me by not making me attracted by the holy name. That is the Parama Karuna Pahuduijana. So here the last verse. संसारे मध्य रोहिली पोरिया सेपदे नाहिलो आशा आपन कर्म भुंजाय शमन कहोय लोचन दास. I, Lochan Das, regret that I am entrapped by sense gratification. I have no attraction for the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, and therefore Yamaraj, the superintendent of death, is punishing me by not allowing me to be attracted by this movement. So we have to be very sensitive, we have to be very perceptive of how our consciousness is every moment, right? So going back, it should always be ever increasing. It should not become stale. Yata yamam, ayata yamani, yata yamam gatarasam. When we are in the mode of ignorance, our Krishna consciousness becomes yata yamam gatarasam. It becomes stale and tasteless. You know, one guru of ISKCON, he said, after 40 years of chanting, I feel very dry. I don't feel like getting my hand through the beads is such a drudgery. I just can't do it. I have no taste at all. I really don't want to chant. My mind is just like begging me to stop. That's the kind of, he's a guru. He was a guru. And he did a lot of service to Prabhupada. He did. And he was one of the scholars, not just any service, he was scholarly as well. He was knowing Shastra. And he says, after 40 years of chanting, he says, the holy name feels so dry. So dry. I've absolutely noticed. I've lost all taste for chanting. That's what he said. His own confession. He confessed. At least he confessed. But he said, those who are my disciples, it's up to them what they want. And he fell down very badly. Very, very badly. And he still dons saffron cloth. And he said his disciples, they can choose whether they still want to take him as a guru or not. Some are still sticking on to him. Well, I don't know what to say, but you know, that can happen. It's not just we ridicule him. Oh, see, after 40 years, no taste in chanting. No, that's not the lesson we have to learn from that. The lesson we have to learn from that, of course, that we have to see that get this bogus guru system, but also it can happen to anyone. It can happen to absolutely anyone if you're not careful. So if those kind of things can happen, I have to be very, very alert. I cannot take it lightly, right? Even if I have advanced something, even if I have some level of Krishna consciousness, I cannot be complacent. I have to be always afraid of the influence of Maya, alert. So going back, undivided devotional service. He explicitly explains this in this verse so that unauthorized commentators who try to understand Bhagavad Gita by the speculative process will know that they are simply wasting their time. Because, in the previous verse, he says, no other process can get me. If you see 1153, he said, Naham vedair, na tapasa, na danena, na chejyaya, shakya evam vidho drashtum, drishtavanasi mam yatha. The form you are seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by studying the Vedas or tapasyas or worship or charity. No. It is not by these means that one can see me as I am. So no need of those things? No, we need. And that is explained by Prabhupada in today's purport. But so none of those things devoid of Krishna consciousness will enable us to see Krishna. So bhakti is an integral uh, requisite in understanding Krishna. Prerequisite. So Krishna is understood by the process of undivided devotional service. He explicitly explains this in the verse so that unauthorized commentators who try to understand Bhagavad Gita by the speculative process, not by devotional service, will know that they are simply wasting their time. So Krishna is very clearly saying here bhakti and no other process. No one can understand Krishna or how he came from parents in a four-handed form and at once changed himself into a two-handed form. These things are very difficult to understand by study of the Vedas or by philosophical speculation. Therefore, it is clearly stated here that no one can see him or enter into understanding of these matters. Not only these matters, even much simpler matters like understanding the soul, none of these we can understand with simply speculation. We have to accept the conclusion given by Krishna. These are about Krishna. Even the most basic things we cannot understand, and our relationship with Krishna, we cannot understand this. And when we think we understand, that's when the problem starts. Our hunger for advancement will attenuate and stagnate. So, if we think we know, so always we should know that we do not know. And that's why it is very profitable to study the books, the lives of great acharyas, the great devotees like Prahlad Charitra, Dhruva Charitra, and everything. Arjuna, Bhagavad Gita, all this. Basically, Bhagavat means what? Bhagavatam is full of the story of different Mahabhagavats. So a lot of Mahabhagavats are there inside Bhagavatam, and even our acharyas, in our present context, especially like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada, they were in our times. So their activities are very, very suitable for people like us in today's context. Like we are dealing with what kind of society? That was a similar kind of society he dealt with, like for example, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And like the principles will always be the same, whether of Prahlad Maharaj or Dhruv Maharaj or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, anybody, or Madhvacharya, anybody. But especially so, the acharyas in our times, if we know their activities, because they're very well suited for our current time. So they get very specific. So some of the things we cannot do specifically when we read the Bhagavatam, for example. Like the method of meditation undertaken by Dhruv Maharaj is not possible today. So what should we do in our present context? So we can understand from the Prabhupada's pastimes, from Bhaktisiddhanta Bhaktivinoda Thakur's pastimes. Of course, we cannot imitate them again, but at least they have shown us also example on how we can follow. So many of the things that we deal with, the complications, the situational existence of today, Desh Kala Patra, the Kala, that also helps. So I'm not saying that we should only read our Vaishnavas. We should read Prabhupada's books. We should read about Prabhupada's life. We should read about our immediate acharyas' lives as well. We should. That's when we will know what we don't know. We will begin to know what we do not know. And that's when our humility will set in. And that's how we will become grounded again and be humble, and therefore we will not make offenses, and our progress will be steady, and we will want to increase more and more, become fresh. Everything will happen when we read. That is purification. That's the meaning of purification. Therefore, it is clearly stated here that no one can see him or enter into understanding of these matters. Those who, however, are very experienced students of Vedic literature can learn about him from the Vedic literature in so many ways. So by Vedas, he is not to be understood, but by Vedas, he can be understood if we know how to extract that meaning. But how to extract that? Unflinching faith in Guru and Krishna. That will be explained later on in the purport. Let's see. There are so many rules and regulations, and if one at all wants to understand Krishna, he must follow the regulative principles described in the authoritative literature. And the first regulative principle is that one has to accept the shelter of a spiritual master. One can perform penance in accordance with those principles. For example, to undergo serious penances, one may observe fasting on Janmashtami, not like what Dhruv Maharaj did or something, invent or imitate something that was done in a much different time and circumstance. No. In today's circumstance, and what is given by our spiritual master, not fasting for anything and everything, like, Gandhi fasted for India's independence, and that kind of thing is not recommended here. That is his own thing. That's not Krishna consciousness. So reading on, for example, to undergo serious penances, one must observe fasting on Janmashtami, the day on which Krishna appeared, and on the 2 days of Ekadashi, the 11th day after the new moon and 11th day after the full moon. So, of course, apart from this, there are other details as well, like acharyas and other incarnations of Krishna and everything. As far as charity is concerned, it is plain that charity should be given to the devotees of Krishna who are engaged in his devotional service to spread the Krishna philosophy or Krishna consciousness throughout the world. So that's where we should give our charity, to those who are spreading the Krishna philosophy, distributing the books, explaining the books to others. I always profited by sitting with Sundar Prabhu. For example, when we do service and come to the office and sit across the table with him, and then he will show something which he has read that day. He'll say, I've read something interesting. You see, did you see this? He will show something. You know how beneficial that is? Because for you to get to that book, maybe you're reading another book. Well and good. It's all good because everybody is reading their own book. But sharing something that he has read and sharing his realization of it, that deepens our understanding. So even though I'm not reading that book, I have got some glimpse. I've gotten a lesson from there just because I associated with the devotee and he showed me something, right? So it's very interesting. It's very important that we need to have conversations with devotees. We should attend the classes, and that's what actually I want these classes to be as well. I want to share. Like recently, I have been sharing, some aspects from this book, from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's life. So some philosophical points from there and whatever. There's so much more here that I want to share. But in the context of a class, when something comes to my mind, and then, okay, I'll go there and kind of show that. So that's what this is all about. So the more we share, the more we discuss these things, the more our focus on Krishna, our interest in Krishna, these will increase. And charity should be given to people who do these things. And not just Krishna philosophy. We're not just here sitting and discussing, oh, Krishna, Narada, and this. Do also the work. Krishna philosophy and all this means also the service. And discussing Krishna Seva. That is also Krishna Katha. Not just about Krishna's pastimes, about Krishna's universal form and all these things. These are also Krishna Katha. But Krishna Seva Katha is also there. How to improve our service. Okay, how we can do something better. Oh, how was this? Oh, congratulations, well done. Encouraging someone who has done good service. And then all these things is Krishna Katha. These kinds of conversations, encouraging one another, we need to do. I think, what is that? No, I'm not going to search like that. Is it 11:30:20? No, 11. Encouraging one another. Yes, 11:3:30. That's the thing I was looking for. Parasparanukathanam, I think. Yeah. Parasparanukathanam pavanam bhagavadyashah mithoratir mithas tushtir nivrittir mitha atmanah. Parasparanukathanam. 10:9 also Bhagavad Gita. You see, one should learn how to associate with the devotees of the Lord by gathering with them to chant the glories of the Lord. When we say glories of the Lord, glories of the service, glories of everything of the Lord, this process is most purifying. Most purifying. And we should, again, the word purifying, try to understand what I said earlier in the class. Purifying means our understanding, our clarity becomes better. That is a symptom. That means when it becomes better, that means my previous sinful reactions have gone away, due to which I'm able to understand. It appears that I understand because somebody explained to me. Yes, but that explanation, that understanding now has dispelled the reaction of sinful activity, because sinful reaction means ignorance. That will keep us in ignorance when we do sinful activity. So the sinful reaction is actually ignorance, the result of sinful activity. Of course, we have the physical effects of health problems or whatnot. But Krishna Tattva, that's why Vastu Tattva Jnana, that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, which we were supposed to have yesterday, because we were whole day outside yesterday, book distribution and stuff. So we did not have a class yesterday. But that episode should have been, it's a very important episode supposed to be. So Vastu Tattva Jnana hoy kripate praman. So mercy means I will have knowledge of Krishna Tattva. Krishna Tattva. Knowledge about Krishna and everything about Krishna. So this process is most purifying. As devotees thus develop their loving friendship, they feel mutual happiness and satisfaction. And by thus encouraging one another, they are able to give up material sense gratification, which is the cause of all suffering. This is devotee association. Not getting embroiled in all sorts of materialistic consciousness, materialistic conversations, materialistic activities. Oh, so I'm associating with devotees, Prabhu. Yes. What are you doing associating with devotees? We discussed stock market, we discussed our work life, our family. What are you doing? What are you doing? We have to discuss, even if we discuss family life, for example, we have to discuss in such a way that, okay, for example, Prabhu, how are you? I'm facing difficulty, I'm coming back from office and I'm not having time. How are you managing your time? I see you're learning some shlokas. How are you doing? Where are you fitting those in? Okay, that's what you're doing. Okay, you know what? I will try something. That is, yes, talking about family life, but talking about how to improve in my devotional life. What should I do? Or like, how can I improve myself here? So, encouraging one another like that. And also sometimes discouraging somebody else if they're going into Maya, and then hey, wake up, what are you doing? You're getting into Maya and stuff like that. That's also essential. Discouraging one in Maya is actually encouraging one in Krishna. So encouraging in Krishna consciousness includes all of this. So, going back again. So charity should be given to those who are spreading the Krishna philosophy or Krishna consciousness throughout the world. Krishna consciousness is a benediction to humanity. Lord Chaitanya was appreciated by Rupa Goswami as the most munificent man of charity because love of Krishna, which is very difficult to achieve, was distributed freely by him. So if one gives some amount of his money to persons involved in distributing Krishna consciousness, that charity given to spread Krishna consciousness is the greatest charity in the world. Why? Why it is the, see how beautifully Prabhupada explained this thing. How beautifully he is explaining. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most charitable person. He is giving love of Godhead to everyone. So if I give my money in charity to the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the servants of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the disciples, devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who are instruments in distributing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, this charity of Krishna Prema all over the world, then my charity is being channeled into the greatest charity that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has started. So my charity should serve the greatest charity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's charity. That's the beauty. How beautifully Prabhupada explained. It's a great benediction. So if our charity, why we do charity? Because we want to help others. We want to benefit them. We want to benedict them. And if poor man gets some money, he feels benedicted. So the greatest benediction is Krishna consciousness, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is spreading that. Namo Mahavadanyaya, Krishna Prema Pradayate. So, he is Mahavadanyaya. Vadanya. Vadanya means dana, charity. Vadanya means to bestow. So, Namo Mahavadanyaya. Krishna Prema Pradaya. So he is giving Krishna Prema to everybody, and that's the greatest charity. And when our charity serves that charity of Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then our money is going for the greatest benefit of human society and is benefiting us as well. So that is proper charity. And if one worships as prescribed in the temples of India, there is always some statue, usually of Vishnu or Krishna. So if one worships as prescribed in the temple, there is a chance to progress by offering worship and respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For the beginners in devotional service to the Lord, temple worship is essential, and this is confirmed in the Vedic literature, Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6.23. It's very interesting. Yasya deve parabhaktir yatha deve tatha gurau tasyete katitha hyartha prakashante mahatmanah. One who has unflinching devotion for the Supreme Lord and is directed by the spiritual master in whom he has similar unflinching faith can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead by revelation. Prakashante mahatmanah. So, Prabhupada connected this to, he said, for the beginners in devotional service to the Lord, temple worship is essential. And this is confirmed in the Vedic literature. Temple worship is essential for beginners is confirmed in this verse, Yasadeva Parabhaktir. Yes. Yatha Deva Parabhaktir Yatha Deva Tatha Guru, because they have to engage in bhakti of Guru and Krishna, Para Bhaktir and Yatha Deva Tatha Guru. Para Bhaktir to Deva and Guru. Deva means here Krishna. Tasyete katitha. So that's why worship of Guru and Krishna are very important for the neophytes and everybody, even the most highest devotee, he will always be submissive to his Guru. Tasyete katitha hyartha prakashante mahatma. He can see God. Now we have drashtum, praveshtum, jnatum. If you want to know Krishna, see Krishna, enter into the mysteries of his understanding, we have to do this. Otherwise we cannot. There's no chance. By revelation. Can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead by revelation when Krishna shows himself. One cannot understand Krishna by mental speculation. For one who does not take personal training under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, it is impossible to even begin to understand Krishna. The word tu is specifically used here to indicate that no other process can be used, can be recommended, or can be successful in understanding Krishna. Bhaktya tu ananyaya shaktya. But only by bhakti. Unless by bhakti, which is ananya, we cannot understand by any other process. That's the point. Bhaktya means it's a stressing on the point. Unless it is Ananya Bhakti to Krishna, unless that is the condition, there cannot be understanding of Krishna, there cannot be any seeing of Krishna, there cannot be any entering into understanding or serving him, nothing of that. The personal forms of Krishna, the two-handed form and the four-handed, are described as Sudurdarsham, very difficult to see. They are completely different from the temporary universal form shown to Arjuna. The four-handed form of Narayana and the two-handed form of Krishna are eternal and transcendental, whereas the universal form exhibited to Arjuna is temporary. The words Tvad-anyena na drishtapurvam, text 47, state that before Arjuna, no one had seen that universal form. Also, they suggest that amongst the devotees, there was no necessity of showing it. That's the other reason why it was not seen before. Because for the devotees, there's no need for showing it. Because this is to convince the non-devotees to become devotees. But for the devotees, they already are, convinced of Krishna's supremacy and how he does everything. They accept the way he's doing everything anyway. Whatever is revealed, they will take that knowledge. But other than that, they will just accept Krishna's inconceivable potencies. So that form was exhibited, that universal form was exhibited by Krishna at the request of Arjuna, so that in the future, when one represents himself as an incarnation of God, people can ask to see his universal form. So it's a litmus test for an incarnation of God. If somebody says God, then yeah, okay, then you show me your universal form. The word na, used repeatedly in the previous verse, indicates that one should not be very much proud of such credentials as an academic education in Vedic literature. One must take to the devotion Chaturvedi, Trivedi, Ghana Pathi, or such Visharad, or Sarvabhauma, or Panditji, all these designations, or let's say the modern education, PhD, doctor, scientist, sociologist, even though they do nothing, one woman, her what is her post? Sexologist. You are meditating on animal propensities and how to do sex. And that their knowledge is so cheap, and they want to give it a title as if it's like very big sexologist, like some big ologist, like a huge field of study. Brains are cooked, basically. So these big designations, by that we cannot understand Krishna. Cannot. Or that does not indicate that this person can understand Krishna. Oh, he's a big scientist, so he must be very intelligent. So that means he must be able to understand this statement. No. We sometimes, most of the time, often find that people who seemingly have a lot of intelligence in material sphere, when they come here, they cannot understand the basic of the basic. They just cannot understand. They cannot enter into the understanding at all. Because it's not that they cannot understand. The thing we have to understand here is prakashante mahatmanaha and naham prakashaha sarvasya. Krishna does not reveal himself. It's not that how come they cannot understand, how come they cannot enter? Because Krishna does not allow them to enter. Because this is not, you cannot have entrance into this with just intelligence, with just your brute force of intelligence or whatever. No. It is always prakashante. It's not a result of intelligence or anything else. It's a result of mercy. When Krishna allows us to understand. And therefore, we have to beg, we have to become humble. We have to go through the rigor of to arrive at the right attitude, which will satisfy Krishna and which will how to say, evoke in him the feeling that, you know what, I want to reveal to this person. That's what we should do. We have to satisfy Krishna. And how to satisfy? Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasadaha. Yasya aprasadan nagatih kutopi. Therefore, we have to serve the Guru, serve the devotees. Vaishnava Seva, Guru Seva. This is so important. Without that, there's no chance in hell. Okay? And no chance in Vaikuntha, forget it, no chance in hell. So, one must take to the devotional service of Krishna, only then can one attempt to write commentaries on Bhagavad Gita or to comment, to even lecture, to even like speak about these things. One must take to the devotional service of Krishna, then only one can even speak about anything. One may think, what is the use of our preaching? What is the use of our lecturing when Prabhupada is already writing a commentary? The thing about this is, the beauty of this is, the devotees who follow the instructions of the spiritual master and study the scriptures under his guidance, under the devotee's guidance, taking to all the rules and regulations, their explanations are inspired by the spiritual master. So each of these purports can be understood in a great depth and with a lot of realizations, which are again only inspired by the mercy of the spiritual master. So if any credit, the credit has to go to the spiritual master only, Srila Prabhupada. Even if the devotees are, explaining everything, that the credit goes to Prabhupada, then of course we have to feel obliged to the devotees who are explaining to us, who have gained certain realizations by the mercy of Prabhupada. But we should not think that, oh, how come he's giving class, and who does he think he is? He's greater than Prabhupada or what? We should just read Prabhupada's purport. What is the use of class? No, we have to speak our realization, and when we speak, we also become purified, and those who listen, they also become purified. We have to do that. And also we have to think on those lines. We have to think according to the philosophy. Not that philosophy is for the class. After that, don't bring in philosophy. What is the point in living life like that? In silos. Class time philosophy, after the class, no. It's all about what I want to do, whimsical. No. It has to guide every single facet of our life. And philosophy is not... Philosophy, we should understand what is philosophy. Philosophy means, our Krishna conscious philosophy especially means, it's Krishna's counsel. When we see through the philosophy something, we are considering the counsel of our dear friend Krishna. We have to consider his statement. How is he guiding us? Okay, he said this, Acharya said this. So these are the things we need to, act according to. So it's not some logical something. It's just taking Krishna's counsel and analyzing that and trying to solve the situation that we have, or trying to control our mind in any situation and focus it back on Krishna. That's the whole point. So every moment of our life should be guided by philosophy, not just class time or reading time. And our chanting also should be guided by such philosophy with proper understanding. Then we can chant in the proper mood with the proper understanding. It will increase. 16 rounds, yes, but Prabhupada also said we should carefully chant, avoiding offenses. Prabhupada also said that. Not that offensively I chant and I'll go back to Godhead. No chance. No chance. Pritirna yavan mai vasudeve namuchyate deha yogena tavat. If anybody says that we can go back to Krishna even if we do offensive chanting, that's to encourage you. But if we want to be really, really serious, you think we are allowed in Krishna's abode with a impure consciousness? You think we will be allowed? What does it mean to become purified? So we have to purify ourselves, only then we will be allowed. One must take to the devotional service of Krishna, only then can one attempt to write commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. Krishna changes from the universal form to the four-handed form of Narayana and then to his own natural form of two hands. This indicates that the four-handed forms and the other forms mentioned in Vedic literature are all emanations of the original two-handed Krishna. Finally, he went back to his original form, which is two-handed Krishna. He is the origin of all emanations. Krishna is distinct even from these forms, what to speak of the impersonal conception. As far as the four-handed forms of Krishna are concerned, it is stated clearly that even the most identical four-handed form of Krishna, which is known as Mahavishnu, who is lying on the cosmic ocean and from whose breathing so many innumerable universes are passing out and entering, is also an expansion of the Supreme Lord. It's actually a very interesting statement. Because you just imagine, Krishna is the most beautiful, right? The most beautiful person. You would think then that that is the paragon of beauty, and therefore that is the one singular definition of infinite beauty, which is yes. But here he's saying the most identical form to Krishna is Mahavishnu, but that means the other forms of Narayana are not identical to Krishna, and yet they are infinite in their beauty as well. Of course, Krishna is, that's why it's perfect, more perfect, most perfect. It's all infinite. Everybody of them are infinitely beautiful, whether it's Narayana or Ram or Krishna. Everybody is, each one of them is infinitely beautiful. But then, even of them, Krishna is the source. But considering this fact, if Mahavishnu is the most identical, that means the other Narayanas are probably not that identical, and still yet they are infinitely beautiful. That means it's not just one singular face. All features are infinitely beautiful. That means infinite forms of infinite beauty. It's hard to even comprehend. Okay. So even the Mahavishnu is an expansion of the Supreme Lord. As stated in the Brahma Samhita 548, Yasyai Ganeshvasita Kalamathavalambya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadandanathah Vishnur Mahansa Ihayasya Kala Vishesho Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. The Mahavishnu, into whom all the innumerable universes enter and from whom they come forth again, simply by his breathing process, is a plenary expansion of Krishna. Therefore, I worship Govinda, Krishna, the cause of all causes. Therefore, one should conclusively worship the personal form of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead who has eternal bliss and knowledge. He is the source of all forms of Vishnu. He is the source of all forms of incarnation, and he is the original Supreme Personality as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Now, in this part of the purport and going forward as well, he stresses, he cites so many citations from the Vedas, Vedic literature, stating that Krishna, the two-handed Krishna, is the topmost form. Because this Jnatum drashtum cha tattvena praveshtum cha parantapa. So the mystery of this understanding. What is the mystery? And what does it mean to know Krishna? This form, he said. This two-handed form. And drashtum, what does it mean to see? What form is he talking about? This two-handed form. And because it is that's why Prabhupada is going quite in depth into the point that Krishna is the origin of every other form. So, in the Vedic literature, Gopal Tapani Upanishad 1.1, the following statement appears: Satchidananda Rupaya Krishnaya Klishtaka Satchidananda Rupaya Krishnaya Klishtakarine Namo Vedanta Vedyaya Gurave Buddhi Sakshine. Yes, Yukta Vairagya. Okay, we will come there. I want to finish the purport and let's touch upon the Yukta Vairagya and the class, because it's going to go otherwise very, very long. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Krishna, who has a transcendental form of bliss, eternity, and knowledge. I offer my respect to him because understanding him means understanding the Vedas. You see, this is from Gopal Tapani Upanishad. This is from Upanishad. I offer my respect to him because understanding him means understanding the Vedas, and He is there for the supreme spiritual master. Then it is said, Krishno vai paramam daivatam. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Goptapani Upanishad 1:3. Eko vashi sarvagah Krishna idyah. Eko pisan bahudhayo vabhati. That one Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and he is worshipable. Although he is one, he is manifested in unlimited forms and expanded incarnations. Gopal Tapani Upanishad 1:21. The Brahma Samhita 5:1 says, Ishvarah Paramah Krishnah Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govindah Sarva Karana Karanam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna, who has a body of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. He has no beginning, for he is the beginning of everything. He is the cause of all causes. In the Vishnu Puran 4:11:4, it is said, Yatravatiranam Krishnakhyam Param Brahman Narakriti. The Supreme Absolute Truth is a person, his name is Krishna, and he sometimes descends on this earth. Narakriti means the form of a human, in the human form, two-handed form. Nara means human, Akriti means form. So, Narakriti. The Supreme Absolute Truth is a person, his name is Krishna, and he sometimes descends on this earth in the human form. What is that? Manushim Tanumashritam Avajanandimam Mudha. Manushim Tanumashritam. So, going forward in the purport, similarly in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we find a description of all kinds of incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in this list, the name of Krishna also appears. This is in the first canto, 3rd chapter. But then it is said that this Krishna is not an incarnation of God, but is the origin, is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Etechamsha kalah pumsah Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Similarly, in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Mattaha Parataram Nanyat 7:7. There is nothing superior to my form as the personality of Godhead Krishna. He also says elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita, Aham Adirhi Devanam. I am the origin of all the demigods. And after understanding Bhagavad Gita from Krishna, Arjuna also confirms this in the following words, Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. I now fully understand that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, and that you are the refuge of everything. Therefore, the universal form which Krishna showed to Arjuna is not the original form of God. The original is the Krishna form. The universal form with its thousands and thousands of heads and hands is manifest just to draw the attention of those who have no love for God. For them, certain opulence will bring them in. So he showed some opulence of, all these things, but they don't have love. So to attract them somehow, draw the attention. So it is not God's original form. The universal form is not attractive for pure devotees. Interesting point. Not that, universal form, nah. Arjuna saw everything and he contemplated on the universal form. But they have more attraction for the personal form where they can serve. Because just appreciating is not enough. They want to now serve. I can't serve this form. Like, how to serve this form? I can just stand in awe of it and even probably be terrified of it. But the feeling of love when the mind is calmer and when I can actually engage my mind in serving God. Because ultimately, all this, our real purification, our real constitutional position is Jiver Swarupai Krishner Nitya Das. So if we don't serve him, we will not be happy. So in the universal form, the thing about it is why it is not attractive. Because bhakti is stunted. And if you consider the attitude of a devotee, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, Nadhanam, Najanam, Nasundarim, Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamaye. But Mama Janmani Janmanishware Bhavatad Bhakti Rahaitu Kitvai. I don't want material benedictions in the form of wealth, following, and women. I don't want even liberation. Even liberation I am not asking. Janmani Janmani, even if you keep me here, I'm not asking for anything. But bhakti, I cannot stay away from. So, a devotee cannot have just Krishna without bhakti. That's the kind of mood that universal form will evoke. We are attracted to the opulence, the grandeur, or even terrified of the grandeur of Krishna, because it's not just grandeur, it's all not just beautiful, it's also terrible. The the um, um, the ferocity of the material world, the stark destructive force of the sheer destruction that happens in this material world. It's actually a constant churn of death. And everybody, that's why Arjuna saw everybody being crushed under his teeth, between his teeth and everything. So it's not a very pleasant sight, because the universal form is not just something, oh, it's all this heavenly, beautiful. Yeah, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. It's not that it's not. But at the same time, the beauty and the terror were all at the same place. We're all, for example, let's see this. The lion. The lion is so majestic with its mane, with its absolute and its courage, its strength, its ferocity, the respect it commands in the forest. All of that is admirable. Admirable. But do you want to go near the lion? Probably not. You can't really love the lion from up close, unless, of course, you have raised the lion from, when it was a baby cub. But that's a different thing. But you can appreciate from far the beauty, the ferocity, but it's also terrible at the same time. You don't want to be anywhere near that. So it's something like that. It's something like that. It's a crude example, but you can just appreciate in awe, but also be terrified of it, but you can't really serve. It's so infinite. What are you going to serve? So that's the reason why the universal form is not attractive for pure devotees. Not that they don't take notice of it. They have all respects, they adore, but then they want to get to service. Not attractive for pure devotees, the universal form, who are in love. The pure devotees are in love with the Lord in different transcendental relationships. The Supreme Godhead exchanges transcendental love in his original form of Krishna. Therefore, to Arjuna, who was so intimately related with Krishna in friendship, this form of the universal manifestation was not pleasing. Rather, it was fearful. Arjuna, who was a constant companion of Krishna's, must have had transcendental eyes. He was not an ordinary man. Therefore, he was not captivated by the universal form. This form may seem wonderful to persons who are involved in elevating themselves by fruitive activities, but to persons who are engaged in devotional service, the two-handed form of Krishna is the most dear. So, seeing Krishna, well, there's actually a whole chapter about the Drik Drishya Vichar and goes into great detail, and I'm not going to go into that now because it's very, very late already. But I promised to go through that Yukta Vairagya, because when I was speaking about entering into the understanding, Drashtum, Praveshtum, Jnatum, the words that are used in today's verse, it's not only about Krishna. Of course, here it's actually Krishna. But knowing about ourselves in relation with Krishna is also knowing Krishna. Because our relationship with Krishna knowledge, Krishna Tattvavit means he must know everything about Krishna. And that includes us, because we are part and parcel of Krishna. So everything, every minute nuance, intricacy, everything is Krishna Tattva. So in order for us to, and as I was saying, our bhakti is rented, and the rent is due every day, every moment. And Yukta Vairagya, concepts which we think we know, to really fine-tune our understanding and always check ourselves whether we are using whether I'm Yukta and Vairagya at the same time. or I'm only getting yukta and not vairagya. Okay, so Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he composed, okay, I'm reading from this book here, this chapter, this 3 here, Yukta Vairagya. Okay, so अनासक्तस्य विषयान् यथार्हम् उपयुञ्जतः निर्बन्धः कृष्ण संबंधे युक्तं वैराग्यम् उच्यते. Let me you see, this is the thing. अनासक्तस्य विषयान् यथार्हम् उपयुञ्जतः निर्बन्धः कृष्ण संबंधे युक्तं वैराग्यम् उच्यते. प्रापंचिकतया बुद्ध्या हरिसंबंधि वस्तुनः मुमुक्षुभिः परित्यागो वैराग्यं फल्गु कथ्यते. This is Yukta Vairagya definition by Rupa Goswami. When one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna. Okay, one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna. One is rightly situated above possessiveness. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of his relationship to Krishna is not as complete in his renunciation. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur composed 2 Bengali verses to go with these 2 verses, these 2 Sanskrit verses. And he said, and he featured those verses alongside Rupa Goswami's originals on the header of each Gaudiya magazine. He had a Gaudiya magazine. So he said, Asakti Rahita Sambandha Sahita. You see, Asakta Rahita Sambandha Sahita. Vishaya Samuha Sakali Madhava. Srihari Sevaya Jaha Anukul. Vishaya Bolia Tyage Hoy Bhul. So Asakti Rahita Sambandha Sahita. Vishaya Samuha Sakali Madhava. All sense objects which are used without personal attachment and in relation to Krishna are non-different from Krishna. Asakti rahita but sambandha sahita. Sambandha, everything belongs to Krishna. Aham sarvasya prabhava. So everything is related to Krishna. So that sambandha we have to realize. But asakta means my sense of enjoyment for that thing should not be there. But understanding of that in relation with Krishna has to be there. With that we have to proceed in using everything. And Sri Hari Sevaya Jaha Anukul Vishaya Bolia Tage Hoy Bul. So it is a mistake to reject anything suitable for serving Krishna, considering it an object of sense gratification. Whatever is useful for Krishna's service, Sri Hari Sevaya Jaha Anukul, Vishaya Bolia Tyage. If we say that is Vishaya, that is a materialistic thing, but it can be used in Krishna's service, then that is a mistake. But then, okay, that's quite okay. What is so insightful in this? Because, well, that's what we understood by the other definition as well. Yes, but there's nuance. So this whole chapter goes into this. There was one paragraph probably I wanted to read. Yes. It's not about only how we should use everything in Krishna's service, but we also, while using them, contemplate, always check ourselves. That introspection should be there. Where am I crossing the fine line of actually getting attached to this? Or am I not getting attached? I'm only using it because it is related to Krishna and I am attached to my service and using it only in service, or in the name of Yukta Vairagya, am I actually getting asakta? Am I asakta rahita or asakta sahita? If I am asakta sahita, then I have lost the understanding of sambandha. So it becomes sambandha rahita. Because now I think this is something I have to enjoy. So The sambandha of it being Krishna's property and it is for his satisfaction, that has gone from my mind, and my asakti for it has developed. So that's why this line is very important. Asakti rahita, sambandha sahita, not asakti sahita, sambandha rahita. So it's very important. And one second. In fact, his Vaishnava sannyas also was Yukta Vairagya. That is a very important thing. His Vaishnava sannyas, even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Vaishnava sannyas, was Yukta Vairagya. He was not attached to sannyas. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He took sannyas because sannyas will help in preaching. So for the preaching, he took sannyas. Because people will respect a sannyasi and everything. Of course, he was more than any sannyasi. He did not require sannyas. Usually when one takes sannyas, it is for his own purification. To become even more serious. But he is always serious since before his birth. He is sent from Krishna's personal staff of devotees. So he does not need anything. Just like Sukadeva Goswami, he born and then he left home. Like that. He is like that, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. But he took sannyas as a Yukta Vairagya principle, using it in Krishna's service, not being attached even to the sannyas ashram. Because if I am attached to the sannyas ashram, I am attached to the varnashram system. I am attached. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Naham varni nacha grihapatir yovanestho yatirva. I am not a Naham vipro nacha narapatir napi vaishyo na shudro. Naham varni nacha grihapatir no vanastho yatirva. I am not even sannyasi. Only I am Gopi Bhartu Padakamalayur Dāsa Dāsa. I am just a servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. So even his renounced order, we can be attached to our renounced order. Look at the irony of it. Taratala bhikshus, what is that? Karatala bhikshus tarutala vasa tadapani puncha tyasha pasha. Shankaracharya has written in his Moha Mudgara. Karatala bhikshus tarutala vasa tadapani munchati asha pasha. So, pasha means to be bound. We are bound by desires even when we are karatala bhikshu. We are begging with our hands, and tarutala vasa, we are staying under the tree, each day different tree. Even then, I may be attached to desires. Tadapani munchati. At that time also, we are not freed from the binding of asha pasha, materialistic desires. We are attached to our renounced order. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was not attached to his renounced order. He was truly renounced. He used the sannyas as a Yukta Vairagya principle only for the service of preaching Krishna consciousness. So the understanding of Yukta Vairagya just deepened so much. And he mentioned something I wanted to show. He said pragmatism. He is not attached to pragmatism as well. He is not attached to anything, in fact. Asakti rahita sambandha sahita. And if every single thing he used it like this. He compared Yukta Vairagya to the pragmatism of a serpent or Ajagar Vritti. A snake does not build its own residence, but lives in a suitable place constructed by other creatures and thus spares itself the labor of constructing a house. Similarly, materialistic persons have taken unlimited pains to produce electric lights, conveyances, mechanical fans, etc., and will continue in the future with such endeavors, which are useful for Vaishnavas. Being dedicated to the spiritual path, Vaishnavas do not think it necessary to strive for material comforts and are always absorbed in accepting the spiritual essence of everything. They do not consider the inconveniences of ancient times to be conducive for spiritual life. Important point. And this is something I had to learn as well when I read this. I tend to be a little bit ancient times or the way it was done before is better than now. Now it's all too modern and too. There are pros and cons into everything. Anyway, I have to rethink. I have to contemplate on all this. But like for example, in the matter of learning, there are apps and screens and all these things. I have tried reading on screens. I have tried reading on Kindle. I have read like that, but honestly, it's not the same effect as the book. And it can be cited as my own romanticizing the olden times, like the books are much better, but also there were olden times, even still older times, where there was no books, because this is also a product of technology in one sense, because there has to be printing press and everything, and the paper, there's a lot of processing that happens from wood to paper, how to get this, all this, there's a lot of middleman before we can get the book. Why should I be attached to the book and not the palm leaves? Or why should I not be attached to the screens and attached to the books? Or why can't I accept the modern thing and use it in Krishna's service? Yes, that can be done, but you have to also again contemplate on the Yukta Vairagya principle. Can that device with the phone or the tab or whatever only be used in Krishna's service, or there is a distraction, there is a opportunity for being distracted? Whereas from a book, I can't get distracted. I have to only read a book and it will not show me anything else. But a tablet, it can show me anything I want. Changing, the display is changing. I can at the tap of a few taps, I can change it from a Bhagavatam to a movie. So that can happen in a matter of seconds. So that is the risk. And that's not the risk actually. The device is only as powerful as the person holding it. So if I have no confidence in myself, and we should always have no confidence in ourselves, we should take ourselves, we should be very careful and be always vigilant and introspect whether I can be distracted or not. I can be distracted all the time. I should not I should not challenge Maya at any time. So according to the capacity of the advancement of the person, he can handle technology or he can't handle technology. He can only use, whether it is asakti rahita and sambandha sahita or asakti sahita and sambandha rahita, always we should evaluate where our mind is at. Maybe yesterday it was asakti rahita and sambandha sahita. Maybe today or 1 hour ago it was asakti rahita, sambandha sahita, and now it is asakti sahita, sambandha rahita. So at every moment we should evaluate. So we should observe, okay, if I'm getting too distracted, why fight a battle? As they say, choose your battles wisely. So why should I battle with this? Why can't I just take a book and read? Is that is that me romanticizing an olden technology compared to new one, and I'm not being enough Yukta Vairagya? I don't think so. According to my own advancement, I prefer book. And there are certain advantages psychologically. Screen is useful, but it's also dangerous. So it has to be used in very, very sparingly and in the right way. Anyway, this is subjective depending on the advancement of the individual. But either way, for most of us who are advancing and are struggling with Maya, honestly, it is a discussion worth having. It is a contemplation worth having. So this paragraph, I'll just finish it. So materialistic persons have taken unlimited pains to produce electric lights, conveyances, mechanical fans, etc., and will continue in the future with such endeavors, which are useful for Vaishnavas. Being dedicated to the spiritual path, Vaishnavas do not think it necessary to strive for material comforts and are always absorbed in accepting the spiritual essence of everything. They do not consider the inconveniences of ancient times to be conducive for spiritual life. Neither are they attached to living in opulent mansions constructed by others. They're not romanticizing, oh, previously used to be like this. We want to go back to that life. That would have been so peaceful. No, people were not peaceful even back then. People are not, when one cannot be peaceful if one is not Krishna conscious. It just cannot be. So, people at those times lived with what was current at those times. So, we should live with what is current in our times. But with the contemplation, and I will read that. Okay, I'll finish this paragraph. They do not consider the inconveniences of ancient times to be conducive for spiritual life, neither are they attached to living in opulent mansions constructed by others. Attainment of one's ultimate goal through activities of the sensate world, which is this material world, which is perceived with our senses, such as excessive remembrance and restoration of ancient things, is not specified for the real spiritualist. Restoration of ancient things is not specified for the real spiritualist. So we should not romanticize olden things and we should go back to the old. We should accept the current reality and bring the principle of the old, puratanaha, yoga proktaha puratana. It's the same science, but in our context. That is again yukta vairagya. I should be yukta with the principle, but I have to be vairagya with the conditions under which those principles was spoken at that time. I should accept whatever conditions are today present and move in this world for the service of Krishna. So in that, there was one paragraph. Okay. I'm sorry this is getting late. This is actually very, very late, but honestly, I think it's important. So I'll go through this. Okay. Although pragmatic, that means practical, Srila Saraswati Thakur was never a slave of pragmatism. He was the exemplar of Yukta Vairagya, non-imitative, realistic renunciation of the world by persons with yet some work to do within it. This is actually very good, very well written. He's not a slave of pragmatism. Oh, we have to use this, so we have to use it. No. With what mood we have to use it. Otherwise, don't use it if you're not in the proper mood. So he's not just a slave of pragmatism. Okay, we have to use it, therefore never mind. No, also concentrate on the mood. So non-yukta vairagya, non-imitative, realistic renunciation of the world by persons with yet some work to do within it. So they still have some work to do within it. Devotees have still some work. What is that? To carry out the mission of the Lord, dharma samsthapan. So that they have to do within this world. So they still have some work to do in this world, but they have renounced the world asakti rahita only. Asakti only as rahita. That is the thing that they have renounced. They have renounced their asakti for this, but they will not renounce those things. Despite living amid plenty, he had no personal interest in comfort or finery and always remained abstemious and disinclined to sense indulgence. He just abstained himself from some sense indulgence. And disinclined completely. Not that, oh, I have a car, so I will ride in a car. No, only for preaching. Thus, he established that a devotee who desires not even a paisa for his own sensual indulgence could, for service to Krishna, spend crores of rupees and live in opulence. He explained how it was possible for devotees to accept all facilities yet be totally renounced, and is far superior to slothful, quiescent living in the name of Nirjan Bhajan. That means he explained how it is possible for devotees to accept all facilities yet be totally renounced, and is far superior. That kind of life is far superior to the slothful, quiescent living. That means lazy, quiet living, without activity, in the name of Nirjan Bhajan. Oh, I'll just chant and I'll just do my own stuff. Lazy devotion. There's no devotion at all. So this is what he said. Okay, this is a little bit of a long paragraph, but you know what? I'll just go through it as quickly as I can. I understand. So he's mentioning to this is, I think, a letter, if I'm not wrong. Let me just see. Okay. Yeah, this is a letter to one of his disciples. Okay. He said, I understand that a certain devotee has decided to construct a thatched cottage for the sake of improving his sadhana, thus placing obstacles to the propagation of Hari Kirtan in Madras. So in Madras, they had a plot of land, and one devotee wanted to build a hut inside that for his own bhajan, for his own like bhajan kutir. He wanted to do sadhana, So, so he said, I have, I understand. I have come to notice this. It has come to my notice. So even if he continues with such activities of sense enjoyment for many lifetimes, Hari Kirtan will simply go on without cessation. But it is improper that anyone's inclination to serve the Lord and his devotees be attenuated or reduced, even up to the last breath. I am not in favor of building a thatched cottage within the city as a residence for sannyasis. For that purpose, a Himalayan cave would be better, or one could do bhajan by becoming a tree like Yamalarjuna trees. Nalakovar and Manigriva, they became trees. You can do bhajan like that, staying as a tree. The trees also can do like that. Hari Kirtan is the only necessity in this valuable human life. It is not required to place stumbling blocks to preaching by citing Nirjan Bhajan as an excuse for inactive life or accepting meaningless poverty on the plea of renunciation. Just to make a show of being renounced. No, we don't want. We want, see what he wants. Rather than residing in a cottage with the intention of hidden sense enjoyment, I like this scenic, peaceful setting. So you like. That's the point. Am I renouncing or am I enjoying that? I'm enjoying something in preference to something else. I should not have a preference here. Whatever is anukula, Krishna seva, that's why what is that? Sri Hari Sevai Jaha Anukul Vishaya Bolya Tage Hoy Bhool. So, does it attract people to come to that place if there is thatched cottage there? People won't come. Respectable people won't come. We want them to come. We want them to hear Krishna Katha. So, we have to do what is necessary for them to come to hear. Our business is Hari Kirtan, not some mode of goodness living and enjoying that. No, that's not our thing. Okay. Rather than residing in a cottage with the intention of hidden sense enjoyment, thus preparing for stationary existence, plant life, birth after birth. Whoa, look at this. That means if we do Nirjan Bhajan, or if we don't preach, if we don't be active in preaching, then we will be, next birth after birth, we will be as a plant, inactive, stand in one place. Because you're anyway not going anywhere to preach, you stand here. You become a tree. See what he's saying? Rather than residing in a cottage with the intention of hidden sense enjoyment, thus preparing for stationary existence or a plant life, birth after birth, better to immediately begin performing every endeavor for Krishna's pleasure. Krishnarthe akhila cheshta. One can attain Hari Bhajan and the mercy of Mahaprabhu by attempting to reveal and preach the glories of Guru and Gauranga while internally cultivating the Vairagya described in Prarthana and Prema Bhakti Chandrika, and by mentally accepting therefrom such utterances as, by mentally accepting therefrom such utterances as Shadirasa Bhojana Dure Parihari Kobe Vraje Magiya Khaibo Madhukari. So he's explaining a very, very important point. He's saying we have to become so busy in Krishna Kirtan or preaching Krishna consciousness while internally cultivating the Vairagya described in the Prarthana and Prema Bhakti Chandrika, this Narottam Das Thakur songbooks basically. So the intense mood of devotion, internally we should think about those things very seriously. And that's when we will become Vairagya. In the Yukta Vairagya, the Vairagya, the Asakti Rahita, that is Vairagya, that will happen when we deeply contemplate these songs of Narottam Das Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, So internally, we should always be such renounced. But externally, for the service of Krishna, we should use everything. But if we don't put our mind to it, if we don't be mindful, then we can get swept away by that using in Krishna's service. In the name of using everything in Krishna's service, we use it for our sense gratification and say we are using it in Krishna's service. No. Internally we should meditate. That's what will keep us in that right balance of yukta and vairagya. Asakti rahita and sambandha sahita. We will not lose the balance of it. Otherwise, we'll tip the balance over and then becomes asakti sahita and sambandha rahita. You see, so this song, this Shadrasa Bhojana Dure Parihari Kabe Vraje Magya Khaiva Madhukari, meaning is, when will I completely renounce the 6 varieties of sapper, that means food, and live in Vraja by begging food? So although I'm externally not doing that, I'm not begging food, I'm eating food, all kinds of food, but internally I should not want to enjoy these things. Although I'm eating all those things, I should think of these things. Internally I should be vairagya, and externally for preaching, yes, nice foodstuffs have been offered and then offered to the guests as well, so that they will come again and again and hear Harikatha, Krishna Katha. With this attitude of external using everything, internal renouncing everything, or asakti rahita, you cannot renounce, you can only renounce the enjoying spirit of it. With this attitude, it is possible to ride dressed as a sannyasi through North Gopalapuram, which is a very posh area in Madras, Chennai, in the limousine of the Madras Gaudiya Math. So he's saying, with this attitude, it is possible to ride dressed as a sannyasi through North Gopalapuram in the limousine of the Madras Gaudiya Math. Madras Gaudiya Math had this car, without being a pretender or hypocrite. So inside, I should always meditate on these instructions of vairagya, and externally, I should use everything in Krishna's service. And if we don't meditate on the vairagya instructions, we will forget. The asakti sahita will come. That's danger. That's the danger of using everything in Krishna's service. We don't contemplate. The contemplate is not in using, but not the danger is not in not using or using it, but in the contemplating or not contemplating it. If we contemplate seriously on these instructions, then we can use anything and everything. If we don't contemplate, we will not be fit to use anything in Krishna's service. There is no need to follow the example of a certain person of Kulia who falsely dresses as a Babaji and makes a show of renunciation while engaging in Sybaritism. That means basically excessive material desire. Renunciation is a matter of the heart. There is a vast difference between those who misuse the trappings of renunciation and they who follow in the footsteps of Janaka Maharaj or Ramananda Rai. But internal renunciation or Yukta Vairagya does not mean becoming a Ravana while externally imitating Janaka Maharaj or Ramananda Rai or misusing their example. Internally I am Ravana, I want to enjoy Sita, but externally I am wearing a dress of a sannyasi. Like that he approached the cottage, right? And that's how he abducted Sita. So internally he was Rakshas, but externally he became a sadhu. So externally I can make a show of being a sadhu, but internally what I am. I have to always, and when I say what I am, again it's rented. It's a rented place. I may be something else. I may be sincere yesterday. Today I may slacken. I may not be as sincere. Maybe some material desire has crept into my heart. Something else has happened. I should introspect. Ravana is not just a demon, a person. In us, we are always battling between the Hanuman and Ravan in us. When I say Hanuman and Ravan, we are not as great a demon as Ravan. We cannot be. It's a special associate of the Lord. We also cannot be as great as a devotee as Hanuman. But the devotee side of us, the demon side of us is both residing inside. So when we have to kill Ravana, means we have to kill the Ravana propensities. That's why in that verse, Om Namo Bhagavate Mahanarsimhaya, I think, 588? No, 518.8, I think, something. Mahanarsimhaya. No. Tejase. Om Namo Bhagavate Narsimhaya. Namastejas Tejase Aviravir Bhava Vajranaka Vajradamshtra Karmashayan Randhaya Randhaya Karmashayan Randhaya Randhaya Tamo Grasa Grasa Om Swaha Abhayam Abhayam Atmani Bhuyishta Om Shram. You see, what is Prahlad Maharaj praying? I offer my respectful obeisance unto Lord Narasimhadev, the source of all power. O my Lord, who possesses nails and teeth just like thunderbolts, kindly vanquish our demon-like desires for fruitive activity. So our desire for fruitive activity in this material world is the demon-like desire. So when we desire that, we're acting like a demon. We're acting like Hiranyakashipu. So kill that Hiranyakashipu within me. Karmashayan randhaya randhaya. Tamo grasa grasa. Please appear in our hearts and drive away our ignorance. Tamo, drive away. Grasa grasa means to drive away. So that by your mercy we may become fearless in the struggle for existence in this material world. Abhayam abhayam atmani. So that distinction we have to always. So the position of Ravana is rented, the position of Hanuman is rented in us. The devotee position in us is rented, demon-like position is also rented. To which master I pay the rent? Which rent am I paying? So that matters. So I have to pay the rent to stay in devotional service. So always remember whether I am doing it in the mood of Ravana or in the mood of Hanuman. Janak Maharaj here. There is a vast difference between those who misuse the trappings of renunciation and they who follow in the footsteps of Janak Maharaj or Ramananda Rai. But internal renunciation or Yukta Vairagya does not mean becoming a Ravana while externally imitating Janak Maharaj or Ramananda Rai or misusing their example. You may make an artificial show of renunciation in this way, but never expect it to produce any positive results. So that's so I'd like to stop here. It's very long. I hope there are a lot of comments, but I don't think I have time to go through all of that. There are some verses also mentioned in the comment section, but honestly, I think it's a bit late. Somebody is asking, if the whole world gets into Krishna consciousness, how will the whole world run? The world is running because of Krishna. Krishna consciousness means what? Stop everything? We cannot stop. We cannot stop eating. We cannot stop. Do everything for Krishna. What are we doing? We are doing everything for Krishna. Everybody can do everything for Krishna. So it is an art. It does not mean that the world will stop running if we are Krishna conscious. The Krishna consciousness is not an impractical thing. It is the most practical thing. In fact, the world is running only because there are some people who are actually Krishna conscious. The world is going into chaos mode because of so many demons inside that do not know how to run the world. You put a devotee in charge like Yudhishthira Maharaj, Parikshit Maharaj. They were emperor of the world, the pure devotee. Whole world was Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruv Maharaj. They were kings. They were not lazy people. Janak Maharaj, Ramachandra Bhagavan. They were not lazy. They ran the whole world. You think they're inactive fools who don't know anything how to do? Experts. Now what is the world now? Everywhere there is war. Everywhere there is so much disturbance. No mental peace, no physical peace, nothing. Everybody is working so hard to just maintain their bodies. Is this proper governance? The world is going into chaotic mode. The world will run properly when there are devotees. Now it is not running properly. It is running horribly. It's horrible. Okay, I think there are nice references in the comment section, but I just it's just too much to go through now. You can go through. You can always access the live comments later on as well, so you can go through those things and do your own homework and reading. Is there anything else? Yeah, see, so there is one more verse here, 7:10:21. Narasimhadev says to Prahlad, those who follow your example will naturally become my pure devotees. You are the best example of my devotee, and others should follow in your footsteps. So this is the reason why we have to study the life of pure devotees. Okay, so I think there is a okay. There is some question which is a long question, which is continuing. I think this is more suitable in a more private discussion probably, but not exactly in this platform and at this time. Okay, I think this needs some counseling. This needs some conversation, and more. I suggest you approach the senior Matajis in the BMP group or something, and if I need to visit that um, case, it may come to me from the channel. But I think asking a senior devotee would help because there has to be more understanding of the specifics and whatever. So I can't give a generalized answer here. It's a more specific thing and more of a counseling issue. And now is not the right time and is not the right place exactly. So all right, I think I will stop it here, and I appreciate all your patience and for attending this session and also for contributing in the comment section. Thank you all very much. Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananda Kori Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.